ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So here we find further Lord Kapila is describing the precarious condition of the living entity inside the womb of his mother. So here the example is given. Akalpaha swanga cheshtayam. Akalpaha means he is unable. Cheshtaya means to move. He is unable to move his limbs freely. Akalpaha swanga cheshtaya. If somebody binds your hand and legs, what happens? You cannot move your hands and legs freely. It is restricted. Just like if an animal is tied to a pole, its movement is restricted. It cannot move beyond certain limit. So, the living entity, similarly, at the time of birth, is packed in the womb of the mother in such a way that his freedom is completely restricted. Sometimes we say, as free like the birds. Right? You must have heard about people saying. So freedom is something which everyone wants to have. Whether it is an individual, whether it is a society, it's a nation, or even animal. Sometimes when you go and visit some of the geological parks, you may find some animals are caged inside. And you can see the kind of stress those living entities undergo when they are imprisoned. You can see a tiger, you can see a lion encaged inside, and it is not peaceful in his mind. Because everybody wants freedom. You put one dog inside a room and lock it in a small room, even he cannot sit peacefully. So every living entity actually wants freedom. So the example which is given here is 𝖆𝖆𝖆 𝕍𝖆. 𝕍𝖆 means cage. The child is packed in the womb of the mother just like a bird inside the cage, which has no freedom to move. And then 𝕉𝖆 𝖆𝖆𝖆𝖆𝖆. 𝖉𝖆 means by providence, by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. 𝕉𝖆 𝖆𝖆. If he is fortunate, then by the mercy of the Lord, he may remember his past lives. How many lives? Karma janma shatodbhavam. Hundreds of birth flash in his memory, one after another, and he is able to remember the troubles he has undergone in those hundreds of lives. You can just imagine, sometimes one life itself becomes a burden for us. People think, what is this life after all? It is so burdensome. Let me go and commit suicide. One life, some problems in the life makes a person so miserable that he wants to give up his life. Imagine if you have to remember hundreds of your lives and the troubles which you have undergone in those hundreds of lives. Isn't it? What will be the situation? Even few moments of remembrance of past miserable condition makes you so agitated in the mind. Your mind is not peaceful. Let us say somebody gave you a lot of trouble and still giving you a lot of trouble. Even just to remember that for few moments, even that makes our mind so much agitated. And if you have to remember your past 100 lives' trouble, it's much more miserable. So that is why it is said, Smaran 𝕉𝖃 anuchavasam. Remembering this, he wretchedly cries. Anuchavasam. Remembering this past 𝕉𝖃, long troubles he has been facing, he cries very, very wretchedly in the womb of the mother. Sarma kim nama vindate. So Lord Kapila is asking, is there any question of peace of mind in such a situation? Vindate means, can he achieve? What can he achieve? Sarma. Sarma means peace of mind. In such a troublesome position, he is remembering his past hundreds of lives. So much trouble he has undergone. Would he even think of coming out of the womb of the mother? No, I should come out nicely, I will enjoy my life. He is remembering, my God, so many times I have gone into the wombs of the mother, so many times I have died, so much of trouble I have undergone. Will he be thinking that now let me take birth? 𝖆𝖆𝖆 Goswami, understanding, because he was a realized soul, he did not want to come out of the womb of the mother. For 16 years, he stayed in the womb of the mother, not willing to come out. And after he came out, immediately he left his home. so that he will not get entangled into this material existence. So, this is very important, what Lord Kapila is describing. And Prabhupada is explaining that actually in order for us to enjoy in this material world, the Lord makes us to forget through His potency of Maya, 𝖆𝖆 Shakti. It makes us to forget and makes us to believe something which is not there, Maya. There is no happiness in this world, but it makes us to believe that if I work hard, I can be happy. That is why it is called Maya. So, Prabhupada is saying in the purport, after birth, the child may forget about the difficulties of his past lives. Even if by the grace of the Lord, one remembers his hundreds of past lives. After taking birth, will we remember? After we take birth and when we are surrounded by loving relatives, parents, we do not remember. We forget all our past life. This is a special mercy of the Lord if somebody can, even in the womb, remember his past hundreds of miserable condition of life. And after he remembers that, such a fortunate soul prays to the Supreme Lord inside the womb. He prays to the Supreme Lord by the grace of the Lord. That, my dear Lord, I have suffered millions and millions of lives. This lifetime, let it be the last. Let me come out of the womb. I will certainly surrender unto you completely. But unfortunately, Maya is so strong that after the child comes out, we immediately forget. Now also we can see. We practice for some time, and then sometime we find suddenly some devotees disappear. We find suddenly they bloop, and then they forget. No chanting, no reading, nothing. Practically they find it very difficult. Of course, whatever one has gained in Krishna consciousness is never lost. But at least for the time being, Maya covers it. So, Prabhupada is making a very important point. Why these Vedic literatures are so important? Something which you have forgotten to make you remember all those things that you may have forgotten, but the scriptures are saying that hundreds and hundreds of life we suffer like this. So that is what Prabhupada is saying here. After birth, the child may forget about the difficulties of his past life. But when we are grown up, we can at least understand the grievous tortures undergone at birth and death by reading the authorized scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. So, these Vedic scriptures are a very wonderful arrangement of the Supreme Lord to remind us that this material world is not a place where we can live happily. Just like Bhagavad Gita reminds us, Krishna says, 𝖑𝖆𝖏𝖆 𝖵𝖆𝖏 This material existence is filled with miseries. Over and above that, even if you are thinking, no, I am very happy, that happiness will not remain permanently. It is temporary. Anything, any kind of material happiness you may attain, it will be all vanquished, finished at the time of death. So, Bhagavatam and the Vedic scriptures, these are a very, very wonderful arrangements of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, Prabhupada explains, personally comes. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujami aham. Krishna says that. He comes. Sambhavami yuge yuge. In every millennium, the Lord has made this arrangement that He descends in this material world. He has no business. The only business is compassion for the living entities who are suffering in this material world. The Supreme Lord, who has the heart of millions of mothers, how much compassionate He feels, you can just imagine. Even one mother feels so much for her child. And the Supreme Lord is millions of mothers put together. That is the kind of compassion the Supreme Personality of Godhead has. This was told to Dhruva by Suniti, Mother Suniti. So Mother Suniti said to Dhruva, my dear Dhruva, I feel so much for you. Can you imagine how much the Supreme Lord must be feeling for you? He has the hearts of millions of mothers. So you go and satisfy Him. He will surely satisfy your desires. So, the Supreme Lord personally comes. He sends His pure devotees. And the only task, the most important work of such pure devotees is to reclaim the conditioned soul. Just like when we sing the pranam mantra, Krishna 𝕨ष्ඨाय bhutale, isn't it? To establish Krishna consciousness, to spread the message of the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord sends His pure devotees. And then the Supreme Lord has also arranged for scriptures through which one can be reminded of the miserable condition of this material existence and also gain spiritual understanding and knowledge. Because spiritual understanding in the present context, we have to understand. We have no understanding of what is spirit. We are in dualities. So scriptures explain by making us to understand how miserable matter is and how blissful spirit is. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes a comparison in the 2nd chapter. He says, one who has taken birth is sure to die, and one who dies is sure to take his birth. But for the living entity, Atma, there is no such birth. Na jayate, na mriyate, va kadachin, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah. Ajo nityam shashvatoyam purano, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Antavanta ime deha nitya sokta sharirinaha. This body will die, but the one who is dehinaha, one who is residing in this body, he is eternal. So these scriptures, they make us to understand our real position, the position of this material world, the position of the Supreme Lord, and where we belong to. So there is a very beautiful verse which Prabhupada is quoting. He is given the English translation. Not exact translation, but yes, meaning of that. This verse appears in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and many times Prabhupada quoted this verse to explain about the importance of this human form of life. So Prabhupada is saying, if we do not believe in the scripture, that is separate matter. Then what will happen? You take birth, even in the womb of the mother you may have remembered, but after taking birth, you forget everything. And you don't believe in scriptures. Then nothing can be done. But if one understands that these scriptures are authority of those understanding and knowledge which are beyond my perception, that knowledge can be gained only by this descending process. The Supreme Lord has revealed this knowledge. We cannot, through our own understanding, come to that conclusion. It is not possible. We will be misled in our conclusion. That is how we find those who are trying on their own, they may come to the point of understanding Aham Brahmasmi, but then they are also misled. They come to the conclusion, I am spirit, soul, and I am only God. There is no difference between me and God. They come to this faulty conclusion. So with our own endeavor, it is not possible. This knowledge has to descend from the Supreme Lord. 𝕯𝖆𝖆𝖊𝖆 The Supreme Lord gave this knowledge to Brahma in his heart. Brahma gave this knowledge to Narada. Narada gave this knowledge to Vyasa. Like this, it is descending in the chain of disciplic succession. So, this is a very nice verse where it says, Nirdeham Adyam Sulabham Sudurlabham Plavam Sukalpam Guru Karnadharam. Nirdeham, this human body, Adyam, it is the source of all favorable results. Brahma says himself, even the devatas are aspiring for this human form of life. This human form of life has a special privilege. It has a special privilege that in this life one can understand God. In this life one can become self-realized. One can come out of the cycle of birth and death. It's a special privilege given in human form of life. And over and above that, if somebody has taken human form of life in Bharatvarsha, he is very, very, very fortunate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Bharat Bhumite Manushya Janma Hoilo Yaar. Anyone who has taken human form of life in Bharatavarsha, he should make his life perfect. Janma sarthak kari, karo paropkar. And then he should do paropkar. He should preach Krishna consciousness to one and all. So it's a fact. Even the demigods are aspiring. Brahma is saying this, that even the demigods aspire to be born in Bharatavarsha as a human being. Because even for devatas, they cannot go out of this material existence. Even they become bound by so-called happiness in the higher planetary system. But this human form of life is so made by the Supreme Lord that there is a balance of misery and happiness. And in other life, cannot. Cat's life, dog's life, they cannot understand. One goat is standing, another goat is being cut, cannot understand that next moment I will also be sent to the slaughter. They have no such intelligence. Higher forms of life like devatas and all, they become so entangled in material happiness that they have no time. They are thinking this is good enough. We have practically no miseries, having long life, so much of comforts of life. Isn't it? Even in this material existence, we find Kunti Maharani saying, 𝕋𝖆𝖆 𝕋𝖆. Somebody who is having good birth, you don't find. Do you find some very, very great people? Very, very rare. People who are, Mr. Universe, Miss Universe, anybody you find? Very rare. Do you find? Richest people in the world you find? Ambanis and Tatas, very great devotees of the Lord. Very difficult. Even though actually that birth is given for that only, that purpose. But it is so intoxicating. 𝖆𝖆𝖆, somebody who is very learned, materially, not spiritually, materially learned. You don't find. They are intoxicated with their madness of 𝖼𝖆𝖆. So where is the question that devatas will think about going back to Godhead? So they also aspire to be born in Bharatavarsha as human beings. So imagine all of us, if we simply are wasting our life, which is wanted even by the devatas, they are aspiring when to be born, so that I can come out of this cycle of birth and death. And if we don't utilize that properly, Vedic scriptures are saying we are committing suicide. So it says, Sulabham, it is, we have obtained it somehow or other very easily, but actually Sudurlabham, we take it for granted, very easily I have obtained it, no problem, no issue, but scriptures are saying Sudurlabham, very, very, very rare to obtain human form of life. After millions and millions of undergoing evolution in the lower species of life, we get this human form of life. So, Sudurlabham means it is very rare. Plavam, it is like a boat. This human form of life is a boat. Sukalpam, which is made very intelligently by the Supreme Lord. After a lot of thinking, this human form of life is made. Because this is a chance given in this human form of life, where you can come out of this cycle. So it is called Sukalpam. Prabhupada translates that as extremely well suited for its purpose. It is made like that. It is well suited for the purpose of self-realization. And over and above this, the Supreme Lord arranges, if somebody is serious to get out of these miseries of life, 𝕾𝖆𝖎, this human form of life is like a ship which is very beautifully made by the Supreme Lord for the purpose of self-realization, to cross over the ocean of this material nescience. And if one can get the direction, 𝕾𝖆𝖎, just like the captain, he tells the person how to drive, take in this direction, take in this direction. Otherwise, the ship will be lost. Otherwise, the ship can be lost. So if we have no proper direction, the whole society we are seeing, actually it is all directionless. So we are all very fortunate, at least there is direction in our life. Srila Prabhupada is the captain of our ship. And if we simply take the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, just like all the assembled sages, Shaunakadi rishis in 𝕝𝖆𝖆, they accepted Suta Goswami as 𝕾𝖆𝖎, that you are our captain. And just by taking instructions from you, they are saying we will be able to cross over the nescience of this Kali Yuga, which is filled with so many faults. Ocean of Kali Yuga, they say. Ocean of fault. So similarly, if we take advantage of the instructions of the spiritual master, then the ship can ply very smoothly. And over and above, Krishna is saying, _Maya anukulena nabhasvata eritam. Nabhasvata means the wind. The wind is propelling the ship in a favorable direction. Because captain may be there, but if the wind is unfavorable, what can be done? We are trying to take the ship, we are trying to take the boat in a proper direction, but the wind is blowing in a completely opposite direction. We will not be able to march forward. It will be very difficult. So the Supreme Lord has arranged in the forms of scriptures these favorable winds. So 𝕝𝑚𝑎𝑛 𝑏havaब्धिम्, if human, in the human form of life, 𝕝𝑚𝑎𝑛 means if a person, 𝑏havaब्धिम् na taret, if he does not utilize this human form of life to come out of this ocean of nescience, sa atmaha, he is simply committing suicide. So one lifetime, already 40, 50 years are over for many of us, isn't it? We should not take it very lightly. Any moment, this human form of life, this valuable gift, sudurlabham gift, can be gone. So let us take little austerity, one lifetime. Let us try. Prabhupada used to say, do not wait for one more lifetime. Maybe next life I will see. No guarantee. Maya is very strong. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, this lifetime one should be determined to go back to Godhead. And God help those who help themselves. If we are determined, there is no doubt about it, the Supreme Lord will give directions how to proceed, how to advance in spiritual life. So we'll stop with this. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.